Hey everyone, Ryan here at Etrailer. Today on our 2014 Ford F-150, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster base plate kit with removable arms. Before we do that though, let's take a minute, check it out, and make sure it's going to work for you. So before we jump right in, I figured it'd be useful just to touch base on the main parts that we're going to need to flat tow our truck down the road in the first place. And there's going to be a total of 5 of them. You have your base plate, which connects to our truck's frame and allows us to hook our tow bar up to it. So that's the second part, and it's going to be the actual link that connects the front of your Ford to the back of your coach. Third main part will be safety cables, and those are just there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. Keep everything paired together. Fourth part is your tow bar wiring, and that's going to transfer the lighting signals from the back of your RV to the back of your F-150, keeping you safe and legal. And last but not least, the last part will be a supplemental braking system. What this is going to do is apply the brakes in your pickup whenever you hit the brakes in your motorhome, helping to bring you to a more predictable and safe stop. This is what your truck can look like whenever you're not hooked up to your motorhome and flat towing it down the road, which I think is important because you're not always going to be doing that right. And honestly, on this truck, you can't even really notice a base plate, to be honest with you. Since it essentially just replaces our factory tow hooks and it comes out in that same opening, nothing really looks out of place. Now with that said, this will work with trucks that do not have those factory tow hooks, and if that's your situation, you'll have to trim a little bit, so your setup might look a little bit different. Whenever you are ready to use a base plate, it has these removable arms, and I'll be honest with you, they're not the easiest thing in the world to do. They also give you these safety cable extensions, and so these are actually going to kind of tuck in back here, and then you lock them down, and then these will go into place, and you'll have kind of your standard pin and clip that'll go through there. And then you can pin it down. And so compared to some of the other base plates, they use almost like quarter turn attachments where you'd put this in and just click it and lock it down into place. This one definitely is a little more involved. It's not a huge deal, but honestly, with how it looks with the arms in, if it were me, I'd probably end up just leaving these in, especially if I planned on flat towing quite a bit. Being that the arms are direct connect, the tow bar hooks up very easily to them. So essentially all you're going to do is line up the end of your tow bar with the arm. You can put your pin through. Lock it down. Then since our safety cables are back there, it makes it really easy to get to these once they're actually connected. We'll clip them on. That's really all there is to it. You do the same thing on the other side, plug in your wiring and everything. And the base plate is going to be compatible with the Roadmaster Direct Connect style tow bars, like the Nighthawk that we have here, for example. And you can also get other brand of tow bars to work with it as well. And that's because, let's just say, for example, if you already have a Blue Ox tow bar, you can get adapter ends that'll convert it to this style and allow you to pair those up. This is what your setup can look like whenever you are all hooked up, and it's not bad. Everything's organized and somewhat easy to get to. Compared to some of the other base plates for this particular truck, I think after kind of messing with this one, I'd probably go with the Blue Ox one, to be honest with you, and really just from an ease of use standpoint. With these arms, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little tedious to get them in place and everything. Once they're in there, everything's super easy to hook up. You got plenty of room, but to begin with, it takes a little more time as opposed to the Blue Ox ones that just kind of rotate and snap into place. But that kind of brings you to my next point. Roadmaster does make a base plate similar to that, where it's a little easier to use, but it's really going to depend on the exact pickup truck that you got. So it's very important that you use our drop-down menu once you have your truck in our fit guide to select your particular submodel, your engine package, so on and so forth, because all that information is going to dictate what base plate will or won't fit your particular truck. So definitely do that and make sure you get parts that'll fit your vehicle the first time. Other than that, at the end of the day, it's going to be a good way to allow you to pull your truck down the road, give you that attachment point that you need. As far as the installation goes, it really wasn't too bad. The instructions were a little hard to follow. I think that's just because this does fit quite a few different makes and models, so you kind of have to decipher through that. Hopefully we can give you some insight if you're installing this yourself. One thing I want to mention too, towards the end of the installation, I didn't think I would have to trim out the openings down here. I thought I had enough room to get the pins in, but once I got it all wrapped up, I kind of realized it needed to be done. So I did cut the openings out just a little bit down here. It's pretty straightforward. So I just figured I'd mention that, but as long as you take your time, it should be in pretty good shape. With that said though, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage and get going on it now. To begin our installation, we're gonna be here at the front of our truck, and what you're gonna need to do might vary or be a little bit different than what we're doing today, and it's really just gonna depend on the type of submodel of truck that you have, if you have tow hooks, if you don't, so on and so forth. I feel like our setup is pretty common though for the most part. So if yours is different, check the instructions, at least this will be a good guide for you. But with that said, what we're gonna need to do is remove our factory tow hooks. We're gonna have two 15mm head bolts. So we need to get both of those removed. And from this point on, whatever we do to one side of our truck, we'll also do to the other side, because it'll be set up the same way. Whenever you go to take these out, what you can do, instead of just pulling these two bolts right out, the one closest to the back, loosen that about halfway. Then the one here at the front, pull that all the way out. Then you can slide that tow hook off. We'll get rid of this. Take this bolt that you pulled out and get that started again. We'll tighten that all the way down. And then we'll completely remove this one here towards the back. If your model is equipped with this rock guard, like ours is, you can remove it or relocate it. We're just gonna remove it. And to do that on each side of the truck, we're gonna have a 13mm head bolt. Lower this down and set it off to the side. So according to our instructions, we ended up putting this bolt back in, but after kind of mocking up our main receiver brace, it's gonna interfere with this. This base plate works with a lot of submodels, so yours might be a little different, like I said before, but we're gonna get this bolt removed as we don't need it up there. And inside you'll have a nut plate you can pull out too. So with that done, you can then grab your main brace here, and these are side specific, so be sure to check the instructions and make sure you got the right one. But this is gonna sit on the inside portion of our frame rail right here in this area. So our brace is gonna sit on the inside of our frame, and you'll have this hole here. What you're gonna do is line up, in our case, this most rearward hole in the base plate with it. That is kind of tight right there. And then you'll take this 1/2 inch bolt that's 6 inches long and push it straight through. The two holes on the brace that come up on top of the frame rail, you can take those same 6-inch bolts. You're gonna push two of those through. And then you have these big pipe spacers, which you can slide on like that. Where our bolts come through, and matter of fact, all the hardware that we're going to use to secure the base plate, you want to put some red Loctite on the threads. So I did it for the other ones already. And then there is the outside plate here, right? And that's going to match up with those bolt holes. And so we'll just get them pushed through. kind of tricky to line up to, so what I'm going to do is just kind of do one at a time. So what you're going to put on the end of that bolt is a split lock washer and a hex nut. Let's get that one started hand tight. Do the same for the other bolts here. For the 2 attachment points on the bottom here, what you can do is take the larger 5/8 bolts and push them through. And you can see there's a gap here between our plate and this piece of pipe there. So they give you these spacers, these thick washers. Gonna hold that through and make sure the bolt pushes through it all. Don't forget your red Loctite on there, and then we'll take a split lock washer and a hex nut, get that started, and we'll do the same exact thing for that attachment point there. With all the hardware in place and hand tight, we can snug it all down. So for the 3 1/2-inch size bolts, you can use a 3/4 inch socket and wrench. And then for the 2 on the bottom, the larger ones, you're gonna use a 15/16 size socket and wrench. So go ahead and get all that done. With all the hardware snug, you need to make sure and come back with a torque wrench and tighten it all down to the amount specified in your instructions. Once you have both sides done, what you can do if you want, you can trim out some of this opening here, because the way this works, you know, these the arms go in and you put the pins through. So, you know, you can't really get them in through this way unless you cut the opening out bigger. But honestly, since you're right down here anyway, my thought is I'm not even going to bother with that, because you can just come in from underneath and pin them through, pin the arms into place. So that's what we'll go with for now. And at this point, it'd be a great opportunity to install any of your other flat towing components like wiring or a braking system while you already got, you know, all your tools out and everything like that. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster baseplate kit with removable arms on our 2014 Ford F-150.